Hey everyone, CPO here, and in this video, I'm changing exhausts again. This time, I'm going with the APR exhaust. Beautiful exhaust, has a resonator, which I'm super interested in. I'll explain more about that here in a second. And it's just beautiful. It's not quite done yet. I don't have the exhaust tips on. I'm actually trying to decide if I want to go silver or black. I have both. I just can't make up my mind. But let's get to this. I got to take out the old exhaust, which is not the original exhaust, but I do need some parts off the original exhaust. So you're going to see the factory exhaust because we need the valves off of it. This is a valved exhaust, one of the reasons why I went with it. And you know, why? Well, to be honest with you, the AWE track was just way too loud. Like, it was too much. It was cool for a while, but then it was too much. So I went with something valved that still had good flow. The APR fits that bill very nicely, and it fits beautifully with the track slag downpipe. Yeah, and my son is home for the weekend for Thanksgiving, so I'm gonna make him help. All right, first of all, the box that this comes in is large, like full-size human being in there large. Thankfully, it was just exhaust parts and not a human that was sent to me. But yeah, pretty big box, but a lot of it is padding just to protect the components. But once you dig into there, you can find some really awesome, shiny APR branded stuff. And yeah, this is a 3-inch exhaust that goes to quad 2.5-inch splitter. And it comes with the valves that you can connect your valve controllers from your factory exhaust. It comes with this Helmholtz resonator, which is pretty awesome. And then a couple of additional hardware items that you may or may not need. Putting this car up on the lift, this is the quick jack, and been a huge fan of that. It's been working fantastically for me. All right, the first thing I want to do is pull these exhaust flap motors off of my factory exhaust. There's one on each side, and I'm gonna then move those over to the APR exhaust. The current exhaust I have now didn't have the exhaust flaps, so I didn't have a need for the motors. So I just unplugged them and shoved the wiring up into the frame rails, but now I actually need these. So pulling these off on both sides, and it's kind of interesting. There's a little spring that's used to connect the motor to the actual flappers, the valves inside the exhaust. So when you put them onto the APR exhaust, you just need to make sure that that spring aligns in the notch with the valves. So it does come with this hardware, and I am using a blue thread lock on this as I tighten them down. And as I seat it into place, I'm just making sure that the spring from the motor is positively engaging the APR flaps in that little spacer there. So I'm using the end of my Allen bit to sort of make sure it gets pressed down there. Here's what it looks like. And yeah, pretty easy job. The bracketry on this is kind of nice as well, that comes with it. So now I'm going to pull off the old exhaust. This is an AWE track exhaust. Again, my issue with this is just volume. It's super loud and drony. Anything above like 3,000 RPM and half throttle is ridiculous. Super fun for a while, but does get annoying after a while. So what I did is I went through and loosened up all of the clamps for the exhaust and hit them with some WD-40 to sort of let some penetrating oil seep in there and loosen things up. Then I pulled the 2 hanger brackets in the rear. And then with the help of my son, we sort of worked it off. I tried rotating it, but actually like moving it side to side helped a lot more. Now I'll move this next section. There are 2 hangers holding this piece into place. This is basically a resonator delete pipe. There's no resonator in here, just using a pair of channel locks to pull it off the hangers, and then rotating it off until it came free. I'm using a bungee cord just to sort of hold the downpipe, midpipe up for just ease, keep it off the ground and allow me room to work under there. Now I'm sliding in the new resonator that goes with the APR system. This is a Helmholtz resonator. It's quite interesting, but it's going to reduce that drone frequency, and it's based on a really interesting scientific principle that you can go research if you want. The Helmholtz resonator principle is pretty interesting, but it's supposedly a very effective method of eliminating certain frequencies of sound. and I can tell you already it works super well. So now I'm connecting it up to the track slag downpipe, and it mates up perfectly. The track slag actually, was a perfect length for this. All of the components of the track slag just mated up with it like it was meant to go together. And I didn't need to use that additional extension pipe or anything that came with the kit. So now I am pulling off the hangers off of that AWE exhaust, and then I'm going to connect them to the APR. So it's just these little hangers, and a squirt of WD-40 will help lubricate them just enough to let them slide easily onto the hanger brackets. And these brackets, by the way, are really nicely done, heavy duty stuff. So next I put the slip clamp over the resonator section of the pipe, and with the help of my son, who laid this on my chest, I'm bringing in the exhaust section, the quad section, and just slipping it in there. And what I'm going to do is sort of hold that in place with a little extra help, and then I'm going to bolt the exhaust hangers back into place. Once I get those bolts started, it holds up fairly nicely, and then I just go down there and cinch them down. And the thing actually centered up very well. I didn't have to do any adjustments. It just sort of self-centered, which was kind of nice. Now I'm adjusting that slip clamp to get it into position where I want it. And I'm going to go back through and look at everything and make sure everything is exactly where I want it. Everything is still loose at this point, but is laid out very nicely. You can see I have plenty of room there from the mid pipe to clear. And there's the APR clamp, which is super nice. I actually really like that style. And once I feel comfortable, I'm just going to go through and tighten everything down. Now I'm going through and just sort of giving a little wiggle, make sure A, that I tightened everything that needs to be tightened, and B, make sure that there's nothing that's rubbing or hitting when I shake it, because that's going to become apparent during driving as well. And so far so good. I did go back in and put that center brace near where the mid pipe connects to the resonator. So I didn't show that on camera, but that little bracket is back into place. Now I'm plugging in the electrical connection for the flapper motors. Again, one on each side. Definitely do this before you put the exhaust tips on. As you can see, it gives me some room to work. This I did not need. That's if you're going to connect to a factory downpipe. And then this little pipe here I didn't actually need. And then these last 4 clamps are for the exhaust tips. Now I did follow the instructions and use some brake cleaner and some towels to wipe down all of the exhaust components before I turn the car on. That way it doesn't like heat up and melt in any random fingerprints and stuff like that that'll be harder to get off later. So these come with polished slash cut 4-inch tips, and they look really nice, but there is an option. You can get some double-walled 4-inch polished diamond black, and it's an interesting conundrum, and I've got those obviously, and I'm looking at them side by side trying to figure out which one I want. I like the polished black, but I also like the ones that come with it. Because it's not double walled, it looks like it's got a bigger opening. So it looks a lot more substantial. And yeah, I'm just not sure. So, you know, I'm just sort of comparing them side by side, and I'm doing this to show you the double walled ones. These polished diamond black are also heavier. Not that that really matters that much, but they do look a lot more premium than the standard just single wall polished stainless tips. As you can see here, it looks like a cut piece of pipe, and that's really what it is. So it's really up to you if you're looking for something a little bit more premium looking, but it does minimize the look of the output. I decided to go ahead and go with the ones that came with it, the polished stainless, because I've got the chrome trim. I still have the chrome R on the back and the chrome Volkswagen logo in the back of the center. So I think the chrome looking tips, the polished tips, will look nice still. I do have these diamond black ones, and I may change my mind later. But just know that you can get additional tips for this if you're interested in that. But it does come with these that I'm installing right here. By the way, you can also get a remote for these exhaust valves to let you open and close the floppers with the press of a button. I didn't actually get that part, but if you're interested in that sort of thing, it is available. The install of the tips is pretty simple. You just basically center the P and APR up on the etched logo branding on the top, and then I sort of pulled them out to where they were sitting in the exhaust pipe the same way, and tighten them down. That's really all it takes. This is the APR Cat-Back Exhaust. They have them for a variety of different vehicles, but this happens to be on a Mark 7.5 Golf R. And I think it looks really nice. It sounds great. I have had a chance to drive around with them. Definitely much more tame, but still has that deep, throaty tone that I was looking for. So I'm really happy about it. Now you can take off the exhaust section and put on like a track exhaust with no mufflers. And so you can convert this to sort of a full-on track exhaust with still the resonator, which might be a good option. But for now, I'm going to leave it just like this. Here is the first cold start after the install, so you can hear it. And I'm sure in future videos, you'll be able to hear this exhaust again. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.